Super Saturday with me, Jeremy Harris. Good to be able to talk to you as we get ourselves into yet another stellar guest. Of course, we talk to footballing legend Michael Owen, who joins us on the line. Michael, good to first time talk to you and have you on the show.
Thanks, Jeremy. Yeah, it's an honour following all those other great guests. So thanks for having me.
Michael, I mean, it goes without saying that the crux of the conversation is going to centre around football. But before we get there, just a little bit of sort of making us comfortable, we've got a really big marathon which takes place in Cape Town, in fact, this coming weekend, called the Two Oceans Marathon. I know that marathon running might not necessarily be the one thing that you would put at the top of your CV, but I know you've completed a London marathon.
You've done your research. Yeah, I retired. I must admit, I started putting on a little bit of weight after 3 or 4 years of retiring. I thought I've got to arrest the slide. So I decided to run in the London Marathon, which was a great experience. The training was hard. I showed it a little bit of respect by doing enough training, but not enough to go and do a world record. But really enjoyed it. But didn't enjoy it enough to do another one, I must admit. It was, but it was good. It served the purpose and earned some money for charity as well.
Exactly. Yes, I know that was also sort of at the background in terms of why it was that you were doing it in the first place. At the same time, so we go from one sort of pastime, if you like, to the next. And I know that horse racing has also become a passion. I mean, we've got two really top quality horse race tracks in Cape Town at an area called Kenilworth, and then out in Durbanville. I'm not sure if you're familiar with it, but I mean, I know that you are quite a horse racing enthusiast as well. You want to talk to us a bit about that?
Absolutely, yeah. I've heard of both those racetracks. I've never been, sadly. I have been over to South Africa and visited one or two racing stables, though. Mike de Kock kindly showed me around his yard, of course, one of the great trainers of South African horses. And yeah, I mean, it's not a new passion of mine. I've been in this game all my life, really. It's always been secondary to football, and of course I suppose it still remains a little bit secondary because my television work and being in and around football still takes precedent. But I set up a racing stables when I was 22 years of age, and we started training when I was 23, and I've gradually built the business now, Manor House Stables, we're training about 130 horses nowadays. So we're quite a big noise, let's say, here in the UK. Got some nice horses. Hopefully this is going to be our best season ever. Lots of football influence, like the likes of the Liverpool football team, Trent Alexander-Arnold, Jordan Henderson, James Milner, Oxlade-Chamberlain, and Andy Robertson. Ex-players like Paul Scholes, Steve McManaman, Ian Wright, Sir Alex Ferguson owns horses. So yeah, we've got a real football flavour to it, but also successful people and different people from around the world that own horses. So yeah, it's a business that I've grown for the last 20-something years.
I mean, does it surprise you, Michael, that you are, I mean, I'm going to call it a household name, but I mean, certainly you are as well known so far away from home as you are in Cape Town, or in fact, across South Africa. Does that surprise you? I mean, as you say, you've been a couple of times, you've visited the country, but I mean, when you sit back and you go, let me count the sort of the countries where I'm fairly popular, but I mean, would you count Cape Town? Would you count South Africa, on that list?
Absolutely. I was, really taken aback when I last visited. The popularity of the Premier League, and not only the popularity of the Premier League, but of course my role within that, working on the television. I'm in South African, people's homes on their television,
yeah,
on a daily basis almost. So it's totally understandable that if I walk through a shopping mall, then I get stopped virtually every 2 seconds, which wouldn't happen here in the UK, I guess. I guess people know me, see me in my local town and city. It happens slightly, but when I was in South Africa last time, it was quite incredible. The people that recognise you straight away and come up and ask you for a photograph and want to talk to you and whatever. So it's really nice. But as I say, quite understandable given that the reach of the Premier League and my role within that. So it's great to go to different parts of the world and to see, people that you wouldn't normally see, and to talk to them and to see the fans all over the world.
I mean, I think that it's you're underselling it, but I mean, you are massive. You're massive in South Africa, and I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised, but I wanted to just test the water on your side. We are going to talk about the Premier League. We're going to talk about a lot of competitions. We're going to talk about some higher honours for you during your playing career. But I know that one of the other reasons we're chatting to you today is, of course, the fact that you've got a really, let's call it, exciting, enticing project, which sees a sports fan probably shaking his or her head at the end of it, in terms of the fact that a Champions or a seat at a Champions League final waits for them in the future. Do you want to talk to us a bit about that?
Oh, we've got some really great initiatives and things going on. My partnership with Sunbet out in South Africa has been a positive one, hopefully for both parties. And yeah, different events, different giveaways, different trips are planned. Really looking forward to one actually next month, when a group of prize winners are going to come over to the UK. They're going to go and have a stadium tour of the Emirates down in London. Going to spend some time seeing the sights and then come up north where I reside. I'm going to give them a tour of Manor House Stables. We're also going to go to the Chester's May Festival, which is our biggest local festival of the year, to watch a day's race. And we're also going to go to the Liverpool against Arsenal match, where the guys will be in hospitality, and then of course watching the game, which could be a really important game. So yeah, absolutely, we do plenty together, and my relationship with Sunbet has been a real positive thing, and it's also gotten me over to South Africa a couple of times as well. So here's to many more trips.
Exactly. Let's talk a little bit of football now. I mean, we've sort of covered off some of the easier sort of conversation topics, and I'm going to need to reference this, but I mean, on average, when you were playing, and you've got a substantial playing career, but on average when you were playing, you were scoring a goal almost every second game, which gives you a strike rate, at the very top end of your profession. I'm reminded of the 118 goals in your 200, if you don't mind me just repeating it, 216 appearances for Liverpool. But I mean, you've played for some of the biggest teams in the world, alongside Liverpool. There was Real Madrid, there was Newcastle United, of course the great Manchester United as well, as he lets his bias sneak through. But I mean, there must be some amazing memories from those playing days, which totaled 175 goals in 362 appearances. And I mean, you still look as if you might be able to just run out into the park this coming weekend.
Oh, that's very kind of you to say so. No, I look back very fondly on my career. I also look back and think, what might have been if I hadn't picked up some stumbles along the way and some injuries and whatever. Then I think if I could have kept my level for longer, of course, then who knows what numbers you would have been rolling off your tongue just then. But no, very proud that I got to the very top of my profession. Won virtually everything there was to win in the game, including, of course, individual honours like the Ballon d'Or. So that was amazing. Obviously, the one frustration is that, halfway through my career, I felt that I was then regressing slightly. And it was harder to keep my level just from a physical point of view. So yeah, some great highs, as you mentioned. The teams that I played for, I don't think many people can list that CV. Of course, playing so many times for my country as well. So England, Liverpool, Manchester United, Real Madrid. It really is some of the heavyweights of the footballing world. So yeah, very, very proud of those achievements.
Isn't there an unwritten rule though that you can't play for Liverpool and Manchester United? I mean, is that?
Yeah. I guess there is. Yeah, I mean, it was real strange circumstances, of course, that you would play. If somebody said to me at the start of my career when I was playing for Liverpool that one day you're going to be playing for Manchester United, I would have laughed at them and probably hit them or something.
Yeah, how dare you?
But that's the way that sadly, we're not football fans in many ways, or we were. But once it becomes your job, then you've just got to try to play for as big a team, as better team as you can, stay at the top level. When I came back from Real Madrid, I tried to get back to Liverpool. When I left Newcastle, I tried again to get back to Liverpool, but on both occasions, scenarios and situations didn't work out for reasons I've gone into depth plenty of times before, but it was certainly not for the want of trying. And then, of course, when Liverpool didn't want to sign me after I left Newcastle, then I had to look around. My options at the time were to go back abroad, to play in Australia, to play in America, or to stay on these home shores. I think Hull City, Everton and Manchester United were the three teams that came in for me. So, no matter, I was never going to go to Hull, with all due respect. It was a team fighting for relegation in the Premier League. And the other two teams, I was always going to, break that unwritten rule that you say, playing for Liverpool and Everton, or Liverpool and Manchester United. So, however, even though that sounds like I'm ungrateful for the opportunity, I'm absolutely not. I mean, playing for Manchester United was a huge honour. It was towards the end of my career. It was probably perfect for me at the time in terms of not starting every game and, especially with the injury record I had had. So, yeah, I mean, incredible that I played for both teams. Would never have expected it. But as I say, if I was just a football fan, I'd be sat here now as an Everton supporter, right the way through my life.
Yeah.
Football players, they get dragged from pillar to post. They play for different teams. They try to achieve as much as they can in their short career. And with the options I had available to me, then Manchester United were obviously the best option by a long way.
It was an interesting time for you, though, at Manchester United, because you played under Sir Alex Ferguson, who, I think a lot of teams, maybe even Liverpool, sort of benchmark the kind of culture that he created at Old Trafford. But I mean, you were lucky, I suppose, in the sense that you played in a very strong Liverpool team and there was a strong sort of dressing room. Then you went into a Manchester United team that was quite strong as well. So Alex had created that kind of environment of, we will always persevere, we will always deliver a good result. Is it fair to ask you to sort of compare the experiences and particularly what it was like to play under somebody like Sir Alex?
Yeah, well, of course, if you take your mind back for the older listeners, when I got into the football team, we were hardly, a winning machine. Those days had well and truly, evaporated, really. We weren't winning trophies at the time. So it was almost my job and one or two others to try to reinstate the team back, into a team that wins trophies, that's got a presence again back in Europe. And we did that over a period of time and almost built foundations to what went on. The season in 2001 where we won 5 trophies in the calendar year and had a great season there, that almost re-established us as a winning club. And from then we went on to win more trophies. And then, of course, the current team has taken it on even further to be a big force in the Premier League and in the Champions League. So it was a very different dressing room coming into one that is needing to change, is needing to improve. Whereas when I went to Manchester United, that was a very established dressing room. It was about continuing and not letting your standards slip. So yeah, very, very different. Of course, playing under Sir Alex Ferguson was incredible. Everybody is desperate to hear his team talks, to see him about the place, to see what he does, what makes him so great, etc. But then again, at Liverpool under Gerard Houllier, that was a real transitional period, trying to drag the club into the new generation, the new era. Someone like Arsene Wenger was having great success at Arsenal, and we were lagging behind. So it took someone like Gerard Houllier almost to bring us up to speed with the new ways, with sports science, with looking after yourself, with the right food, the right diet, the right treatment of your body and how to train. And so I think that was an interesting period as well. So no, I played with some of the great managers and with some of the great players, and it was all a great career.
Michael, I know that you're a keenly astute football, let's call it watcher. I mean, I know that you obviously do quite a lot of TV work as well, but I mean, you look at the era now of English Premier League football, and you look at at those same two clubs, and you've got Liverpool, who are just a machine. They just are slick. They will manufacture a win out of a poor performance and apologize for it at the same time. Where United had a good hard look at the relegation zone just a few weeks ago, and you look to see what it is, what are the differences in approach, because I'm fairly sure that the wage bill isn't that disparate. It's a very talented group of players in both squads, yet completely opposite ends of the table. I mean, just your initial thoughts about what makes the difference there.
Yeah, I mean, it's the $1 million question, really, isn't it?
I think it might be worth more than $1 million.
What is going wrong at Manchester United? Why has it been going wrong for the last dozen or so years since Sir Alex left? Why Liverpool all of a sudden have been great for the last sort of 10, 15 years or whatever, or built into a great team? So, yeah, I mean, at the top level, the margins are so tiny, and once you get a bit of momentum, once one or two good players sign, and the team starts developing, and the players within that. I mean, if you cast your mind back to when Liverpool really started doing well, if I said to you those same players would be classed as world-class players, come the end of their careers, you'd all laugh. The players like Andy Robertson and Jordan Henderson and James Milner and of that era, they would, not journeyman play, but they weren't, they had been there, seen it, done it, and almost proven what level they were playing at. All of a sudden, these players, you add a little bit of magic into them with Virgil van Dijk and Mo Salah and Alisson and whatever. All of a sudden, these players that you just saw as standard Premier League players were world beaters. And it's quite the same at Manchester United at the moment. They sign world beaters, but then quite quickly, everything evaporates, everything drains from them. And then all of a sudden, they leave Manchester United, and you see Rashford, you see, players that leave all the time now, and they're going and they're scoring and they're assisting and they're playing well all of a sudden again. And that type of atmosphere, that type of culture, that type of, can just bring out the best or the worst in players. It's hard to break that cycle in many ways. So I don't care whether Manchester United sign, Cristiano Ronaldo or Messi tomorrow. They will probably dip in performance after being there a few weeks, because that's just the culture, the atmosphere. That's just what's been going on. And it's very difficult to stop that from happening. Now, at some point, we all know Manchester United will be great again. They will dominate again. Whether that'll be in 5 years or 10 years, who knows? They're too big. They're too wealthy. They're too well supported. They will be back at the top again. But at the moment, and for the last decade, it's been a very painful time for Manchester United. And of course, from Liverpool's point of view, they need to continue it. They need to stay on top, do all the things that got them there, and keep that rolling. Now, ultimately, the manager and the players are the most important thing in all that. And Liverpool have got some big moments coming up, let's say, with the likes of Van Dijk, with the likes of Mo Salah, with the likes of Trent Alexander-Arnold. And they just need to navigate through this period and keep progressing and keep doing well.
Just your thoughts on, because we've got I think a city that is very Liverpool and Manchester United heavy. Sure, there are a lot of other clubs that the population support, but it's mostly those two clubs that are supported by the population. And there was a conversation that we had a few weeks ago where even the Liverpool supporters were going that Jurgen Klopp took Liverpool to its position of strength and handed over this club, this team, this dressing room with its clean bill of health to Arne Slot, who is lucky that he got what he got. He's not really been the architect of their success this season. And I just wanted to get your thoughts on that.
Well, yeah, absolutely. I hear that argument, but I don't think you can pin any blame on Arne Slot. In fact, quite the opposite. He's done incredibly well to keep that momentum going. He's not changed much at all, which can be seen as a stroke of genius in itself. Why change everything? He's made a couple of little tweaks. He's brought Gravenberch into a really important position. He's hardly made any signings. He's kept the momentum going. He's slightly changed the way they play, a lot more controlled, a lot less gung-ho now. So, how many times have we seen a manager like Sir Alex Ferguson or Arsene Wenger managing for a long, long, long period of time, and all of a sudden a new manager comes in that everybody thinks is great, and all of a sudden Manchester United fall off a cliff. All of a sudden Arsenal fall off a cliff. So fair play to Arne Slot. He's done really well to keep that momentum going, to turn it slightly into his style of play. He's got some big challenges up ahead, but I, for one, have been really, really impressed with how he's taken over the job. And yes, of course, there's an influence there of Jurgen Klopp, but it's not easy to continue great work, as we've seen in the Premier League. Everybody's got money. Everybody's trying to knock you off your perch. And I think Arne Slot's done a great job.
Do some of the newer sort of young guns, the teams, I mean, that are all of a sudden making themselves very present, at the top end of the Premier League standings, is there anything in there that surprises you? I think, of clubs like Notts Forest, which doesn't have a massive wage bill, but yet are delivering some really good results. I mean, all due respect to Aston Villa, but I mean, again, they're a team that has really been fairly consistent the last few years, and I mentioned those two just as an example, but I mean, you may have other sort of teams that you quite like the look of, in terms of they might be shooting the lights out and nobody was expecting them to do that. Is there any other clubs in there that you particularly like at the top end?
Well, in terms of exceeding expectation,
Yep.
I think Bournemouth have been incredible this season. They've got a lot of individual players that are talented, but they might have a job keeping everybody. From after this season. Brighton continue to do well. I'm really impressed with them and the style of play. But as you say, the big overachievers this season have been Nottingham Forest, quite incredible. They spent an awful lot of money not so long ago, and when teams buy so many players, it's often a recipe for disaster, and it nearly was for Nottingham Forest. They nearly went down. But just giving those same players a little bit of time to gel together and to come together, there's so many examples of that happening. Lots and lots of great players being bought at one time, but them not succeeding. But then, given a bit of time, they do succeed in the future. It's happened a few times in the Premier League, and they're reaping the rewards for that. Absolutely brilliant this season. It's looking like they might even get Champions League football, which nobody would have predicted at the start of the season. So really, really impressed with Nottingham Forest. They're the overachievers of the season.
I think you're quite right. I want to loop back right the way back to our initial conversation about the experience for the various winners in your competition. You mentioned Sunbet with the generous host and architect, if you like, of the VIP UK experience. What you didn't mention, of course, was that also two lucky winners receive a shirt signed by one Michael Owen, with 8 shirts up for grabs through the competition. You forgot to mention that part, Michael.
Oh, that just comes as standard, don't it?
I think I think that it's certainly going to be a compelling competition, compelling reasons to enter, and opportunities to enter. We certainly will share as well through the course of the show today. We've been talking to Michael Owen, footballing legend, of course. He says he no longer plays. He says he no longer runs marathons, but certainly is a voice of authority when it comes to the sport of football. Michael, thank you so much for your time. I did promise you and your handlers that we wouldn't keep you for too long, and so I hope we haven't overstayed our welcome, but thank you so much, and as we'd like to say on this show, have a super Saturday.
Thanks, Jeremy. I really, really enjoyed it. I'll look forward to seeing you all soon.
Absolutely. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Cheers.